Hi guys, welcome to Young and Limitless. And in this episode, I'm talking to an amazing woman called Sheila, and she has lived a very interesting life because she's 70. So she has experienced a change in women's rights through the decades. She also talks about her experiences of being bullied as she moved from school to school because her father was in the forces. And it's also really interesting because she was very, very, very shy. But now when you see her, she's like really confident. So it's a real testimony to how you can overcome your fears. And just because you were one thing when you were little, it doesn't mean that you can't live an amazing life and be the person you really want to be when you're older. So,
Mm.
hi, Sheila. Welcome to this podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Very well.
Cool. So, are you keeping warm?
Yes, because I know how to keep warm. You just put on an extra jumper and you wrap up in blankets.
I've just taken mine off because I had the heating on. So I've got my two little lambs who I can show you.
Yeah,
There we
yeah.
go. Two little lambs. I've been keeping them nice
Obviously,
and
well,
warm.
they're well fed, aren't they?
They're very well fed.
That's
They're
why
never
they're
going to
doping.
starve. But they'll go back tomorrow. So I
Yeah,
think the temperature's going up, isn't it, again?
it is. Yes,
So it's not too
yes,
bad. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It should be double figures tomorrow.
Which will be amazing, amazing. Last couple of years and last couple of decades, how have you seen um, what women can do change? You know,
Right.
the possibilities are so massive, aren't they?
Absolutely. It's almost like the old women's right. I mean, if you go back to the suffragettes, I can't remember the year it was, and they were fighting for women's rights, and actually they didn't succeed at that stage. They
No.
didn't succeed. And so it went on. And so as I came into adulthood, it was already that women were kind of being treated as equal, but not quite, because quite frankly, today, I still don't think women are treated as equals.
Mhm.
And it probably goes back to these, dare I say it, these arrogant men, and the fact that they say, well, of course, a woman's going to take time off because she's going to have a family. And actually, I think you'll find in this day and age, there's an awful lot of women who've never had a family, have no intention of. And it's
Mm.
not because they have an alternative arrangement with their relationships, if you want. I don't have family. And I'll tell you very quickly, I didn't want to have children with my first husband. I just had this gut feeling that it wasn't right. And I'm glad I didn't. And then when David and I met and got together, of course, he in particular was too old. He already had grandchildren, so he didn't want to have another
Okay.
family. So I accepted I would never have family, but I've got some lovely nieces, so they're my family.
Yeah. I don't have any
Um,
children, but I've got lambs now.
well, that,
But then I'm going to give it back.
do remember if you have baby goats, you got kids. So when people say, "Have you got any kids?" you can say, "Yeah, I do." How many? Oh, probably 20 at the last count.
Yeah, I don't. I've been told I'm not allowed to take the kids home because the kids are going to be too. The mums will look after them really, really well.
They're very good mums.
So
Very, very good mums. Yeah,
and
yeah.
the ones we've got at the moment, we've got one. We just call them Jump Jump. But that's not her real name. But she just is bounce. She's
I
just
see.
so happy, so
Mm,
bouncy. This little
yeah,
loves the world,
I know.
loves people. So yeah.
They're wonderful. I'll tell you one thing, with a goat, you are never lonely
Oh,
because they talk to you, they want to be with you. You will never ever be lonely if you have a goat. Promise.
the sheep are pretty funny. I can't go toilet without them following me. They're literally like children. But anyway, so
Yeah.
we are talking about
Uh,
two things I want to talk to you about, Sheila. One
mm,
of them is how you survived with being bullied at school so long ago.
mhm.
The other one is, how have you seen things change for women? So I watched, I've watched it a few times now. The very first time I watched Made in Dagenham,
Mm.
that was in the 70s.
Yes, it was.
I was
Yeah,
shocked
yeah.
that when my mum was younger, she didn't have equal pay.
Absolutely.
And I thought women had had equal pay for way, way
No,
longer than
no, no. And of
um
course, in this day and age, particularly if we're talking about high-end corporate, they still don't get it.
no,
I mean,
no,
it's been brought up in the
absolutely.
media recently that the highest paid woman in television, I think, is, I can't remember her name now. Oh, Davina McCall maybe, but one of those. I can't remember. I've probably got the wrong name, but it doesn't matter. And yet there's still many men above her.
Yeah.
And I'd have to say, my humble opinion, I don't think she deserves it as much as some others do. Sorry, let's go. Let's not take that
Yeah.
conversation any further. And even to things like I'm thinking about tennis back then. The fact that they had to wear garments that went right down to the knees, whereas the blokes were allowed to show off their legs. Well, come on, a woman's legs are no different from a bloke's, except maybe slightly more attractive. More slender, less hairy.
Oh, I didn't know that. They had
Mm.
to like.
Oh yeah,
I'm going to
ankle length,
Google that and
ankle
see what
length,
they look like.
ankle
So
length.
like
Yeah.
pajama bottoms.
No, well, no, it was these skirts, A-line skirts.
Oh,
Yeah.
they must have been very wide because when you're
Yeah.
running,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
you want to
Yes,
trip over your skirt.
hence the A-line, so that you have room for your legs to move. Yes.
Oh,
And actually, that always gave them this very slim, waspy waist, because I don't think women really had such super skinny waists, but because the garments came so wide down at the ankles, it made the waist look very narrow, didn't it?
mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know
Yeah.
people compare their waistlines and are going, it's. But I know back so many years ago,
Mm.
women we didn't have as much food, so women's bodies
No.
have changed shape.
Absolutely. They have, definitely.
Mm,
Yes. And here's another thing, which even almost to this day, I think, there are some golf clubs will not allow women.
yes, some very prestigious glove. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, oh, come on. I actually think, what are you frightened of? What are you frightened of that you don't want women in there? Because you know that they might just beat you.
Yeah. Who knows how those people think they can get away with it, but they do, don't
They
they?
do.
But
Yes, they
slowly
do.
the law is changing.
It is. It is definitely.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and especially with so I had training the other day. We were learning about the LGBTQIA. So obviously I've done training for
Oh, yeah.
many years, but it's like, okay, yeah. So things are progressing in
Yes.
a
Yes.
slow way, but
It
that's
is.
the way it
Yes.
is.
And it is slow. It is slow. Yeah. And
Mm.
very frustrating as a result, particularly now in this day of technology where information is instant. And then of course you get things that go completely viral, whether they should or not, of course, it depends.
Mm.
So no, they can't hide behind the old laws, and they can't do the long-winded way of changing them either. Just get your act together, boys.
So in your opinion, for you,
Mm.
what was the best thing that's changed for you being a woman in the last couple of decades?
Being treated as an equal.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest with you, I have always had equal pay because I was a teacher for a while and there was no discrimination between men and women for
That's good.
teaching pay. And then after that, mostly I was self-employed for a while doing furnished lettings, for let properties. That was obviously I set the fee, so that it was equal then. And then I was in bookkeeping, and it was based on my capabilities, not on the fact that I was a woman and
What
not a
your
man.
gender was,
No,
yeah.
no,
Yeah.
yeah. So I've not experienced the
Okay.
inequality there, but it's being treated as an equal, I think, is the key
So
thing.
guys, we had a conversation beforehand, and
Hmm.
Sheila was telling me about her school careers advisor. Do you want to tell us about that now?
I'll tell you, because I ought to tell your audience that I am 70, so we are talking a long time ago. So yes, I would have been about 15, and I went for careers advice, and I went to a grammar school, and here's the classic thing: headmaster, deputy headmistress. So the headmaster gave the careers advice to the blokes, and the deputy headmistress gave the careers advice to women, or the girls, not sorry, boys and girls. And I was one of the unusual ones, because the first question she asked was, "Do you know what you want to do?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And I saw her face light up, because most people went in thinking, "Well, I don't know, shrug." "Yes," I said, "I know." And she said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to be a forensic scientist." "Not on the list." Here we are. This is like, whether you call this an inequality thing or not, I don't know.
Mhm.
It was not on her list. She had school teacher, engineer, nurse, anything like that, not forensic scientist. So she said two things. One was a downright lie, and the other one was just unhelpful. The unhelpful one was, you're not doing the right subjects. I was doing geography, maths and chemistry. And so I should have dropped the geography to do biology. No, she didn't say, let's change your subject. So
Let's
that
make it work.
Nope, no, she just said, you're doing the wrong subjects. And end of conversation. And then she said, and this was a downright lie, they don't take women. Now, I did not in any way contradict her, because I don't know how old she was, but she was a hell of a lot older than me. So she must have known. She must have known that they don't take women. I didn't know they didn't take women. Downright lie. So I just went away. Well, I didn't go away from that not knowing. She said, she made some suggestions. One thing I was adamant, I was not going to go to university. And you know about the terrible time I had at school. I don't know whether we're going to talk about that in a minute, but
We will. Let other people know
I
too.
had no intention of going to university. The only thing I was adamant about. So there were two things. If you were a boy and didn't want to go to university, you went to Polytech and did
Yes.
like, you know, engineering, that kind of thing, the more hands-on skills, you know. And if you were a girl, you went to teacher training college or you went nursing. Well, I didn't want to do, I didn't want to do nursing. I didn't even think I wanted to do teacher training. But she said, have a day at college. So I did. I had a day at teacher training college. I had a ball. But
Okay, that's good.
but it had nothing to do with teaching. Had nothing to do with teaching. I was just enjoying a day at college. And so, of course, in the first half of the first term, so that was early September to October, I got a chance to experience everything about the whole 3-year course. And I thought, I don't want to be here.
Okay.
But here we go. I was terrified to face my mother and tell her I'd made the wrong decision, because I was frightened of her. I was frightened of her. And I thought, well, stick with it then. So I stick with it. I didn't enjoy the college that much, and I certainly didn't enjoy teaching. I stuck with it for nearly 8 years. And the reason that I made that decision to leave there and then was because the headmaster changed. Now, I was in a little village school in Greyshot, so it's not so far away, which was infant and junior, male and female teachers. And it was a lovely family feel about the school. And that made it bearable. But when dear old Mr. Roberts retired and they got this whippersnapper in who was only using that post to get a job at county level, he had no interest in the children at all. You know, the really tiny ones would tug on his trouser legs and say, please, sir, please, sir. And he ignored them. He ignored every one of them. And I thought, I can't do this anymore. I mean, I don't enjoy it anyway, but to think that you, as the head of the school, are going to treat the children like that, can't do it anymore. And that's when I opted to do about nearly 2 years of inventory work for furnished lettings before I then went into accountancy, which is work I really enjoy because I love numbers. I think in hindsight, I should have said to her, well, I'll go into banking, you know, but that wasn't on the list, come to think about it. She never mentioned.
That list sounds like it was very short.
Very short, yes. You were a secretary, a teacher, or you went into nursing, unless you went to university.
Okay, so tell us then why you didn't want to go to university.
I hated anything to do with school.
Why was that?
Why? Because I'm the daughter of an army officer, and at the age that I am, the family used to travel the world with the serving soldier. And to the extent that my sister, I'm the only one born in the UK. I was born in Catterick in Yorkshire, which is an army base. My sister was born in Gibraltar, and my brother was born in Austria. So we have travelled the world, and my mum insisted that when we were between what are called postings, you know, your father gets posted. So like between Aldershot, when I was about 5, before going to Germany, we would stay with family, like my aunts and uncle, and mum insisted, even if it was only 4 weeks, you're going to school. You're not going to school. So that meant I was always put in a year back, because they saw no point in putting me into what you might term an advanced year, because, you know, I wasn't going to be there long enough to pick up what was happening. So I was always being put back a year. I had done it all. I had done it all, and I could do it inside out, back to front, and I had no problems. So to the children who were there long term, I appeared to be clever clogs, you know. Oh, she knows.
Oh
She thinks she
no.
knows it all, because they didn't know me. And equally, with these very short stays at school, I struggled to make friends because I may not be shy now. I had no confidence whatsoever, and so I didn't easily make friends. It would
Mm,
be maybe some poor little soul who also looked very lonely that I would connect with, but in 4 weeks that doesn't happen.
no.
And yeah, and it was the boys who did the bullying, because I think they felt, I now know they felt threatened, because here was me, obviously appearing to be a hell of a lot brighter than they were. I probably was brighter than most of the bullies, because let's face it, most bullies are not very clever, are they?
No, they're very hurt children, yeah.
Very hurt children. I totally understand, very hurt, but they didn't have to take it out on me.
No, no, that's not fair.
No, it's not fair. But how did I cope with it? I just knew that my cousins, my brother would always be there to help me, and I just avoided any situation where I might be alone with the bullies.
So you went, so you, your sister, and your brother,
Mm,
the
mm.
three of you went to school, even if it was only for 4 weeks here and
Yeah,
there. And
yeah. No, my brother slightly differently. Let me
oh,
tell you why. He's 4 years older than me, and he went to boarding school as soon as it was possible,
okay.
because it meant his education was undisturbed. It broke his heart. It broke my mother's heart. She hated sending him to boarding school, but it was better for him. So just the two girls, myself and my younger sister, we were the ones who were staying with mum and aunts and uncles, and then doing these short stays at school. So when I eventually got to the schools at the postings, we went from Aldershot to Germany, and you have a 3-year posting. And yes, I made friends, but it took time. I don't easily make friends, and I had some very nice friends, and yeah, and really got on. So that was settled. But then there'd be this other break again, and we'd come back to the UK, as we did from Germany, another few weeks at a school, and then that was a different school. So I had this absolute trepidation every time I had these short stays in school. And then we went to Malaya, and that was lovely, actually. I did enjoy that, because that was a very small school. We lived on a rubber plantation. We didn't live in army quarters, so we were 8 miles away from the school. So we had the private transport that took myself and my sister to school was an army lorry. So,
Oh,
so we were rattling around in the back of an army lorry, and it was just two rooms. They were joined together like a terrapin hut, or whatever you'd call it. So one was the infants, that my sister was in that, and the other was the juniors. I was in that, and it was Mr. and Mrs. Parish until school finished, and then it was Uncle Ted and Auntie Joy.
oh, this sounds like it was an adventure.
It was an adventure, absolute adventure.
He
Loved it.
just didn't like to come back to the UK for that four
I
week
No,
period.
no, 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 I didn't. And then, of course, when we left Malaya in 1961, Mum, because I was coming up to 11, Mum said, "I'm not going to have the girls going to boarding school." She said, "I'm just not. So when we go to the UK, if you get posted abroad, you're going alone. But
Okay.
we're going to put down roots." And that's what we did, and bought the family home in Liphook. And then, of course, I had the trepidation of going to the the school, and making new friends again. But you know how sometimes somebody will come along at just the right time. Now, if I tell you, there were just 3 rows of desks, like on the length of the room, and so you'd have to shuffle in to get to your desk, right?
Okay.
Okay. And this very little girl, because she was a lot shorter than me when I say she was little, she said, "Please, can I sit next to you?" And I said, "Yes." And she ducked underneath the desk, and she came up and she said, "I'm Kathy." And I said, "I'm Sheila." And that was a friendship that's lasted to this day.
Wow. So you're still friends?
Oh, very
So
much
it's
so.
that's like
She lives in
60, nearly 60 years later.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh,
She lives in Kenya now, but thank heavens for social media. We keep in touch a lot that way.
yeah. So that
And then
was not very nice, but then that's a really nice little bit of
absolutely, yeah.
story.
So that, yes, but I just didn't like it. And interestingly, when I went to college, teacher training college, I said, "I'm not going in the hall of residence. I don't want to be herded along with all these other people who have only ever experienced education. Yes, I had only experienced education, but I had experiences outside the realms of most of them.
Yes.
And I thought, no, I'm not. I don't want to be a sheep. I don't want to follow. So I said, I'm going into and I went into digs the first year, and then second and third year there was a group of us made good friends, and we actually shared a flat and rented a flat. But I wasn't going into the whole of residence. No, thank you.
So in your primary school years, you were bullied a bit, quite a lot, and in your secondary school, you were not, or
secondary school, not so bad.
Okay.
I went to a grammar school, and interestingly, because we had what was called the 11 plus then, you took an exam called the 11 plus. The 11 being the year, how old you were when you took it, I think that's why. And there was a secondary school very close by, but there was not a grammar school very close. So I had to go to school in Havant, which was, well, it was half an hour on the train. I'm not, the distance wise, it's probably about 40 miles away. So we went by train, and yes, it was okay there. I soon learnt that you get on and you don't get on with teachers. I'll always remember. Well, I'll always remember this Miss Butler. Miss Butler, she was the English teacher, and she just took a dislike to me, and she took a dislike to a boy in my class as well. And I suppose I became slightly rebellious then, because I thought, well, you don't like me and I don't like English, so I'm damned if I'm going to put any effort into it. And yet when we took our O levels, because it was not GCSEs, it was O levels, he and I got top marks.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
and
why
I
do you
thought,
think that
that's
happened?
yours.
Yeah, because you were actually good. Yeah.
I could do it, and she
Regardless
was
of his teaching.
Yeah. But not English literature, because I wasn't. And to me, I just wanted to read books that I liked, and not the ones that they suggested I liked. But my subject is maths. I love maths. I love everything to do. I love the logic. Around
Hence
maths.
accountancy. I got it now.
Yes, exactly. Which is why, as I say, I probably should have gone into banking. But there you go. It didn't happen. Wasn't meant to be, was it? Wasn't meant to be.
So when you were younger in your primary school, and then if it wasn't for, did you say her name was Kathy?
My sister Kathy. Oh, the little one, Kathy, my friend.
Your friend,
yeah.
If it wasn't for Kathy, because you sounded very shy
very
when
shy.
you came back to Britain,
very reserved.
And then you were fine.
Yeah.
What happened?
What happened? Well, let me tell you the other things that kept this nervousness around not being confident. We used to have little pots of ink, and we had fountain pens when we did the writing, and we used to have to do handwriting lessons. Now, I always remember her name. Also, I can't remember her name now. No, I can't remember. But she'd say, right, thin up, sit down. Thin up, thick down. So we'd have these lines, and we'd be drawing the same letter with it going very finely upwards and coming down thick, And then one day I took my fountain pen in. I was given a Parker fountain pen for a birthday present, and she said, "Take it home. You're not using that." Oh, I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated. She would not let me use my fountain pen, even though I could still do thin up, thick down. And that's the kind of thing that used to shatter my confidence all the time. Completely shatter my confidence. Yeah,
I just don't get it personally.
No, nor do I. But that's how it was. How dare I think I could take my own pen in? They issued these fountain pens, which were scratchy and dropped ink spots all over the plate. Yeah, awful. Yeah, didn't like it at all. The one thing they taught me well, and I got caught out with one of them. I'll explain that in a minute. We used to have mental arithmetic on a Friday afternoon, and we were given all the little tips and hints and wrinkles about how to do it. Will you also please remember, we used to talk in pounds, shillings, and pence then. Okay. Your people who are listening won't have a clue, so it doesn't matter. But the penny used to be split into half a penny and a quarter of a penny, called a farthing. And so we'd be given mental arithmetic, like, this cost 11pence 3 farthings, and you bought 10 of them. What's it cost you? And it's like, Well, actually, it's not so difficult, because all you do is you take it. If you rounded 11 3 farthings up to 12, it's a shilling. So it was 10 shillings less 10 quarters, which is
Yeah, I
well,
can't
whatever it is.
remember how
Yeah,
much
no,
everything is.
no,
Yeah,
no.
so
But so we were given all these tips, and that has lived with me to this day. So I'm really proud that as a 70-year-old, I can go into a shop and I can go to the till and I can say to the girl, I think this is what it's going to cost. And she says, blimey, how did you do that? I said, because I can hold numbers in my head, and I'm pretty good at the mental arithmetic. Now,
yeah.
let me tell you about the spelling. Now, this is where I got really caught out. We were given 5 6 words on a Friday. We had to go home, learn how to spell them, and we had to find out what they meant and put them in a sentence.
Mhm.
So that was good. That was a good way of doing it. So I thought, my brother's got a dictionary. I'm going to use his dictionary. That'll help me.
Of course.
Yes, of course. But it was an American one. So of course some of the spellings were different.
Why did he have an American one?
I don't know. I think he swapped it with his American friend at school.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
So of course that I got caught out, didn't I? They say, that's not right, Sheila. I said, well, it was in the dictionary. Yeah, which dictionary were you using?
Oh dear. So what's funny is that some people learn stuff in school and they go, well, that's not relevant. Why am I going to need that in later
Yeah.
life? But you did need, something like basic maths
Yes.
and obviously spelling the right way.
Yes,
It's
spelling the right way. Yeah.
relevant to
Absolutely.
everything.
Absolutely. Yes, it is. Definitely. Yes.
Especially if you don't want people to cheat you out of anything as well.
Yes. And even today, I keep I can never say this word, a thesaurus,
A
where you've got,
thesaurus, yeah.
yes, I can never say that word, it's too many, and a dictionary in the kitchen, because I work in the kitchen, it's the warmest room, and I will look up the word, because I don't ever want to make a spelling mistake again. It's kind of
That's stuck with you.
yes, but that's pride now. That's pride. It's like, I think that's how you spell it. Let's check. And of course, if you do check, it really reinforces it, doesn't it?
It does. That's okay. So
Yeah.
if you could go back and tell your younger self, one piece of advice, what would you say to her?
It
Like
would
your
go back,
teenage self.
go to the teenage self. What would it be? Just be confident, be more confident, or no. Have the reassurance of knowing that you probably are right, and don't get hung up if it's not right. Just kind of learn from it, and just become more confident around things, because it was always this lack of confidence that spoilt developing friendships, and I won't say I went for the underdogs, but it would be people who, like me, had difficulties really relating to people, and for that reason it's gelled long term, because
So do you think if you were your 11-year-old self now, how old were you when you went to the careers advice, that headmistress?
that was about, I was
16?
about 14 15 no,
14.
about 14 15.
So do you think if you were that age now and you went to have your careers advice, how much better do you think it would be?
I hope I would be more confident to actually adamantly say, can't we pursue this?
Yeah.
But you think about it, Esther, it doesn't happen now. The conversation would have gone, oh, you're the first person who wants to be a forensic scientist. Now let's have a quick look onto the old machine, get onto the old thing, look it up. Well, actually, you do need to rethink your subjects. Well, okay, what should I do? You should change geography for biology. I thought, okay, yeah, and actually, mostly men go into this, but there's no reason why you can't.
Absolutely not.
Just answers like that would have made a hell of a difference.
But I think having confidence, because I'm not sure.
Confidence. Yes.
Forget COVID, but I'm not sure there's a lot of the career service in schools now. Some are very hit and miss. They're very. There's no standard, I don't think.
No, you're probably right.
But if a young person goes in with confidence and sticks to their guns, or says, well, if that's not what I can do, then what can I do that's like it? Or how can I, what can I do to change it, what I'm doing? But sometimes you just think they do know more than you, isn't it? Because that's their job to know, isn't it?
It's their job to know. And there's this age thing. You expect somebody who's considerably older than you, with life's experiences, as well as, things they should have learnt along the way, to be able to do it. It's quite interesting, actually. not obviously in the last couple of years because of COVID, but I went into some schools to give children the chance to have an interview experience.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was asked if I'd like to do it, I said, what I'm going to be, teasing out of them is, if they can't find their niche where they think, I want to do this, like I wanted to be a forensic scientist, well, maybe you got some entrepreneurial spirit and you'd like to start your own business, but you like to start it safely. But if you've really got a spark of interest in that, talk to your mum. Talk to your mum, because there's no reason why she can't start, and then she can introduce you when you're old enough.
She can help you out. Yeah.
She can help you.
Yeah.
She can help you out. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So that was interesting to do. But the sad thing was, most of them came into it. I don't know whether there was a fear or whether they were just shy. It was really difficult to eke out of them some enthusiasm. Even when I was saying it,
It's hard. How many young people know what they want to do anyway? So I kind of start, do you want to work inside or outside? Do you want to work with your hands? Do you want to work with people? Do you want to work with animals?
Good one. Yeah, good one.
Because
it's the way. It is the way, Esther. Definitely is the
and
way.
even when they finish uni, they might still not know.
No.
So, Sheila, thank you so much for sharing your stories. I feel there's so much more I could have asked you. And I only really touched on the changes over the last couple of decades. And and so I like that you brought up the idea of feeling confident, which is easier said than done, especially if you're being bullied. And also kids, there's still a lot of kids, maybe not quite now, but who are moving because their parents have got different jobs or the army or for different reasons, and they have to go into different schools and make friends again and again and again.
Very disruptive.
And there's a skill, but I have to say, you've come, I would never have known that about you. The first time I met you, it's in a nicest possible way, you were just really chatty. Just really about anything and everything.
Absolutely. Yes, because I've and I think partly it's because I've been through some mega challenges and come out the other side and thought, actually, yes, those were tough times, but I'm through them. Yeah.
So thank you for your time.
You're very welcome. I've thoroughly enjoyed talking with you.
Oh, sorry. Thank you guys for watching and listening to Young and Limitless, and hope you have a good day. Okay, bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.